Welcome to the Channel Chat podcast. Hello, I'm Marc Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have the privilege of Andrew Harman, the one of the co-founders of Annodata, and also now Strife Capital. How are we doing, Andrew?
Great, and great to be on the show and meeting you, Mark.
Yeah.
So fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Now, I read that you were a pro footballer and you started out your career after university, and then you went after running a leading technology company from 400 staff after that. So they don't seem to be a very good mix. So how did that happen? Pro footballer to leading entrepreneur?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I was in the early days of Wycombe when they were just about to become professional, and the choice was, look, you're going to be a player in the squad, or maybe you go on to other things. And actually, I just felt that I'd gone as far as I could at Wycombe, and I then just decided to take another. I became a semi-professional footballer and went to play for Marlow, and had a great time there and a great career there, and had the opportunity to set up Annodata, and so I got the best of both worlds.
Yes, give us a bit of the listeners a bit of a background about Annodata, because I believe you sort of started with your brother. And did you envisage in those early days you'd get to 400 staff when you started out?
Well, actually, we maybe got more than 400 staff. I think it was over 500 staff at one time. But I think what we wanted to do is just have a bit of fun in the early days. Just wanted to work for ourselves and sort of see where the journey was going to take us. And working with your brother can be. I've got to be careful. It can be yes or champagne, but but actually we were good for each other. And it was delighted where it got to at the end of the day. But wasn't expecting that from the beginning. No.
What were your biggest lessons in growing Annodata? Because it must have been, a phenomenal journey you've taken there.
Yeah, I think, sometimes people say to me, why do you make, we made over 20 acquisitions when we're at Annodata. We had 13 offices and we had north of 500 staff. But I think sometimes the importance of having your brother in business with you, or a partner in business, you can bounce things off each other. And so the lesson I would learn is that you're always learning. That's the first thing. So you don't always have with all the scar tissue I've got, and I've been around quite a long time, so I've made a lot of mistakes, Mark. You kind of need to learn from those mistakes. That's the first thing. The second thing is gut feeling. Sometimes you get a gut feeling on things, a business, a person, or an opportunity. And thirdly, you kind of sort of follow your instincts, but you need to put some financial modelling behind it. And I think I learned from experience where sometimes I've raced into things and not thought about what the plan is. And over time, the only thing I'd say is just think clearly about where you want to be with anything you do, and make sure that sometimes if you do make a mistake, learn from that mistake.
You went through a major acquisition for Annodata in 2016. Was your plan always to exit?
After 28 years of being in business, that's a long time. We went through 3 recessions. So when you go through 3 recessions, you come out the other side. You think, wow, what do we want to do now? But I think for my brother, certainly he was keen to depart, and I kind of felt that we'd been in it from the start together, and I think it was important. We had options to stay on. I certainly had options to stay on in some of the offers, but I felt that it, not just that we were brothers, but partners. We've been through the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think it was time to make that exit, and it was good because we were able to pass on the baton to our senior management team, and all of our staff were able to keep their jobs, which I think was, not only did we get a great deal for our business, but we're able to complement that with looking after everyone that worked with us on the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So since you've exited Annodata, you've been busy setting up an investment business. So tell me about that. Why did you start doing that?
I got a bit bored. Doing a bit of property and building a bit of property, and I'm a very people person, so I like being around people. So I became a non-exec of 2 or 3 business, one a pub business, which is challenged at the moment with 28 pubs, called Oakman Inns. I got involved in a couple of other businesses where I'm non-execs, But what I kind of found is that I was still had a drive and an energy once I've regrouped myself to go back into the industry, some unfinished business. And I had a non-compete, which was just over 3 and a bit years. So I really couldn't touch it before that. And the more and more that came to fruition, I actually felt that I'd like to go back in again. And some people thought I was a bit mad and taking a risk and putting my reputation on the line. But I think in life, sometimes you've got to follow your instincts, as I said earlier. So, yeah, I created Strife Capital. Part of our strategy with my old FD at Annodata, Joe Kelly, was to go and look at acquiring some tech businesses. So the first business we've acquired 2. The first one we acquired was did the deal with Academia and took a major shareholding in that business.
Yeah, and tell me about that purchase, because you've done it in COVID as well. So I don't know, I don't know if you're mad or bonkers there doing that, because 2020 you did it. Why did you choose that company? What was the purpose behind it?
Well, we looked at about 15 or 16 IT companies, and purely the reason we went into IT is that one of the things I learned from Annodata, we were very strong in the managed print side, extremely strong. But we ended up buying a company just before a couple of years before we sold, called Caltech, which was an IT company. And it had the badges of honor for all the things like Microsoft, VMware, Citrix, HP. And the one thing I learned is customer is king in this domain now. And if you're controlling the IT, the wallet share in terms of the IT and the infrastructure and the software that all goes around it is actually a lot more powerful than the managed print. So you combine them together, you should get the perfect fit. And I just felt that from an IT perspective, I looked at a number of companies. I wanted to find the right fit where I could make a difference and where they thought I could make a difference. And so I talked to a few people, turned down a few people, and a few people turned me down, which, hey ho, that happens. But the reality is I came across Academia, and what I really liked about it most was the owner, Mike Bacon. I still say it now. And, Mike had come on this show and say, look, we've had a few little spats, not many, but, he's a great guy. He's very enthusiastic, very humble, and him and his right-hand man, Mark McCormack, are good people to work with, and they're the shareholders left in the business. And I felt that his humility in terms of saying, look, I've taken it this far, but I want to take it on the next journey. Can you come and help me? Was, very, how can I put it? Very refreshing. And so we've gone into business together. Our business is doing really well. Even in COVID, we're very centric on the education, local authority, university piece with some of our software partners. But actually, we've now got a plan to take it to the next level, and so far, so good.
Andrew, when you look at, you mentioned you looked at sort of 15 businesses there. How do you decide which ones to approach, and how do you decide which ones are going to be potentially an option to buy? Because not everyone's putting a sign outside for sale and all that sort of stuff. So how do you hear these whispers, and how do you actually approach these companies?
What I generally do is twofold. One, I've had 1 or 2 people call me because they wanted to talk to me about what I did before, and some of them were in my managed print industry and a couple in IT. Secondly, I've identified a few companies where I think they've got complementary issues or products or services that we could actually take into our own business model. And thirdly, I just look at people that maybe want to stay on the journey, because in an ideal world, I want people that still have some energy left and want to take it to the next level. So normally one of the 2 directors or 2 of the 3 directors we want to keep on, because they've got expert services in the field we're looking at. So for instance, with Academia, we're excellent in the education, university, colleges space, but we haven't got a big SME market. So currently at the moment, I'm looking at that space to see if I can fill it and find a company in that space. We're not experts in certain, around security a bit and cyber security. So we're partnering with someone at the moment, but I might be looking in that field to acquire business in that area. So what we're trying to do is it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, and you're trying to get all the bits to fit. And in the past, when I had Annodata, we had a plan to go national, so we had to open up a number of offices around the UK. I think the world's changing a bit now, and there's a lot more people home working, and so that isn't as important a strategy as it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
And has the business been affected by COVID? Talk me through the last 12 months. How have you sort of navigated through the pandemic?
So within academia, we've got 3 businesses. We've got the academia business, which we've spoken about, and they've got 2 other parts of the business. They've got a company called Vital York that are based in Leeds, which is predominantly around managed service for the schools academy business, and that's doing very well. And I have another business that has been affected in furlough and with the pandemic is called Charterhouse Muller. So that's a remanufactured ITAD that basically takes the likes of people's laptops, PCs, wipes them, GDPR, and cleans them down, and then we put them on the second-hand market and sell them for them. And currently, we haven't been able to get lots of stock from clients because it's been difficult to go on site and actually retrieve those products. So, it has been a bit of a challenge. And so some of those people are not being able to work full time because currently we don't have the work for them. So, we've had to replan a bit, become a bit more nimble, and as we come out of lockdown, I think that we'll see the fruits of what we've done with our business. But it has been a bit of a challenge. I think the second thing is we have a very strong HR department, and so mental issues for people that are having to work from home and challenges there, and trying to keep people motivated, it's difficult. Yeah. So I'm really proud of the people that work in our HR department and support our people out in the field, because they do a lot of events, a lot of online things to keep people motivated. I can see from just seeing what they've been doing recently by things for Valentine's Day, for Mother's Day, and just promoting that to our staff and their families to keep them sort of, as part of the academia family. So if I'm honest, I think there are challenges, but wouldn't any business say there are challenges with people, personnel, and how you run your business in these quite unique times?
Yeah. And what's going to be your sort of work from home policy moving forward, do you think? Because obviously everyone's been forced to work from home, and laptop sales were going through the roof last year, but it's stabilized a bit, and people are talking about going back to the offices now. What would you think the policy is going to be from an academic point of view?
Well, I have two sayings that I use regularly when I talk to the staff, and I used to talk to my old staff at Annodata. Work smarter, not harder. Definitely work smarter, not harder. And less is more. And the first one, really, what I would say is work smarter, not harder, is, why do you need to travel into the office there and back when you could be on the phone at 9 o'clock if it works? So I think there's a complementary service there. I don't expect everyone in 5 days a week, but I think there are times when we can get more value from people working from home and vice versa, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I do actually think that, we have a lot of team calls where they collectively come on the team calls, but I do actually think that from time to time, having meetings with people, bouncing off ideas, talking about sales strategy, talking about opportunities, talking about wins and losses are very healthy. Because, when I was first starting as a salesman, as a trainee, I learned a lot from not just listening to what people's experiences in terms of their customer sort of integration, but also just going out with people. So I kind of think work from home, it has a positive mode if it's done with the right balance, but I also think it's good to be in the office and definitely out on the road. Yeah,
because the listeners would like to know as well, probably, when you've approached a company about a potential acquisition, you don't have to go into the numbers or anything, but how do you actually structure the deal, and how do you actually make those evaluations? Because people will be thinking, suddenly they hear a company goes into a VC, goes into a company and buys it, and they buy a stake. Yeah. But how does actually the structure go in behind it? So can you sort of explain how that would happen?
Yeah. I can give you an outline, which I'm happy
Yeah,
to.
perfect.
I think the first thing that I actually think we're slightly different to a VC or private equity. I've actually lived the business industry before. So myself and Joe Kelly, who's we were running Strife. When we're talking to people, we're saying we've had first-hand experience of growing an office equipment IT company. We've lived the dream, we've lived the challenges. And, we've gone through those sort of pain barriers of growing a business or taking on certain opportunities for etc. So the first thing, first of all, when I go and talk to an acquisition, I say, look, we're like you.
Yeah.
I've had to put my house on the line. Yeah, I've had to take those risks. No disrespect to private equity or those guys in that world. A lot of them don't have that DNA or that scar tissue. So
yeah.
Hopefully when I'm talking to a business owner, he can resonate a bit more with the challenge and the risks on that. So that's the first thing I try to get across. Second thing is I just look at, I look at the valuation of the business. I look at the profitability of it, and I look at how it would complement our business without giving too many trade secrets away. It's important that, when we buy a business, we've got an end game to what we're going to do with that business. We're not just popping it on for the sake of it. And it could be staff, it could be just they've got some technologies which are going to be really important to our customers, or that more importantly, they've got some people or clients that are going to be of use to us. So there's a whole mix of a model. It's not just the financial model, it's the whole, the business and the customer base and the opportunities going forward. But the tactic is for us at Strive is to go and talk to someone and saying, look, before we start, this is the journey we've been on and what we've done before.
Right. Okay. And once you put that stake into the business, how do you then sort of involve your plans of how you're going to move it forward? Because you've got now controlling stake in academia. So what's the plans for the business moving forward now?
Well, the first thing first is I did buy the business in COVID, and we're trying to run it in COVID. And so some of the people that I've wanted to see haven't been able to come into the office because of certain, COVID rules, and also because, there might be, just some challenges in terms of risk, health risk, etc. So we have to respect that. So going forward, what I'd want to be doing is putting a strategy in, which we're working on at the moment, and a plan over 3 to 4 years of a sales strategy and a financial plan that we can all embrace and work to, and the senior management team, like I did at Annodata, we can all buy into and drive the business and all hopefully take the financial benefits of that down the line. So that would be what I'd normally be doing. We're slightly delayed on that because at the moment I don't really want to do those sort of meetings on the Teams call. We want to do it offline, spend a day or two offline, put a plan, a strategy in together, and you kind of need to be eyeballing people, having a bit of feedback on that. And it's really important that your team buy into it and your team sort of make statements and have massive input on that. So that's the key thing. Once you've got that in place, then you can put a financial model alongside it, and then and then away you go. That should be your plan in place. Yes, you have little changes along the way, but ultimately your plan's there to follow and try and roll out and at least achieve it, if not sort of overachieve.
And is there any other exciting projects you've got in the pipeline that you could share with us that you're thinking about doing?
I'm busy. I'm busy. Look, as Mike Bacon says to me at Academia, he said, you let me run the day-to-day business, you go away and do the strategy and the bit above. And sometimes, I think I can add a lot of value within currently what I'm doing in Academia at the moment in terms of people, opportunities. A lot of people, customers have reached out to me from old, a lot of people have reached out to me of old. But I think going forward, it's important for me, I've got under the skin of what we're really good at, what we could be better at, and what could make a difference. And I'm sort of now, talking to people to see if there's either strategic partnership, potential acquisition, or if, there's something that we could do to acquire a business that could complement what we're doing. Can I tell you anything at the moment? No. But watch this space. Hopefully, in the next 3 months, I might be able to come back and tell you something.
Oh, brilliant. And over the last 12 months, Andrew, you said you were busy. How have you had to adjust your own working style? Because you're having to do team meetings yourself and adoption from home, working from home, and might not be able to see some of your leadership team as much as possible. So how have you adapted yourself?
Yeah, well, you can't give people a hug these days, can you, sort of thing, or a high five. You've got to be a bit more sort of. So, and I'm very much an interactive person. Like to interact with people, like to bounce off people, and vice versa. And I still say today that I learn a lot of people, and I like positivity. I like to be around people who want to get up in the morning and achieve things, and that's been a challenge, because sometimes you can't get your message across, or you can't feel the message coming the other way. But I think Teams and getting online has become a bit more of a norm. We are providing essential services to people in the NHS and certain parts of the public sector. So we are able to go in on a very skeleton staff, but it's not as easy as what it was. But it's the same for everyone. So you just have to try and create something that, when I'm on a call like this, I have to make you not fall asleep, Mark, and keep sort of in the zone.
When you're going to be, you mentioned earlier about looking at, and you don't have to sort of name names or anything, but you mentioned earlier about you're looking at what academia are good at, and then you're looking at maybe complementary products or services. You mentioned security, you mentioned more in the SME space. Again, how would people know, and how would those projects come up? Are people just calling you saying, look, this could be of interest, or are you actually going proactively finding them?
I think I sit with my senior team, certainly in the sales and the supports team, and talk to them about what is it that we could do better for a client, and what is it that we could have as a service that we don't currently have that could add value to our client. And some of those things we might never. So we've got some good partners out there. For instance, we're dealing with West Coast on a project at the moment, and it's specifically on a product that we don't have a brilliant sort of experience on, but they do, and working with them in partnership has been a sort of a real blessing, and it gives me confidence, because one of the things that I learned a long time ago is, with a client, it's hard enough to win it, but once you've got it, make sure you look after it, and if you lose it down to bad service, you'll never get it back again. So only do what we can do well, and if not, it's better to say we can't do that. So at the moment, we're trying to fill a couple of gaps. We're trying to work with a couple of partners, but generally speaking, within the education space for IT, we are particularly strong.
Yeah, and I'm not going to ask you if you're Mystic Meg or anything, Andrew, but have you got any sort of trends and predictions you're seeing for this year, the sort of 2021?
Look, I think people are a little bit unknown as to what's going to be happening. I'm certainly not a politician, or I'm not a Mystic Meg, but what I would say is, I think that as a country, I think we'll come out quicker out of this lockdown quicker than people realise, and I think there'll be some strong springboards going forward. I was with my accountants earlier today, and they're always a little bit more doom and gloom, but I actually said, look, think of hospitality. People are going to want to go out and have a drink and meet people. Yeah. People are going to, that's the things that we can control. I think they're going to be, the vaccine looks like it's really positive, and by June, most people in the UK will have had the vaccine, certainly from an adult point of view. So, hey-ho, what's around the corner? Well, the likelihood is the Euros could all be coming to England, because we're the only country in Europe will have achieved that. So they're not going to run it all across Europe from a safety point of view. And then look at the next event, is like the British Lions are likely to be playing all their rugby internationals in the UK. So not playing. So from a sporting point of view and a hospitality point of view and a feel-good factor point of view, I think there could be, that combination can bring into sort of not just bringing revenues through the tills, but it can also give a bit of a feel-good factor. And I think, I think there are some good opportunities, and I think there are people out there ready to get back to work. And I think as a nation generally, everyone's sort of want to be over COVID. We do have to be, safety protocols and respect that. But I think there's a real itch. I can certainly, from the people I know and with my own business, we want to get back and having those meetings having those sort of in-depth conversations, achieving things for clients and for our own staff and development. So I actually think it will be a lot more positive this summer than we think. I think there's only one thing that I can't guarantee on.
What's that?
The weather.
Yeah.
If it's hot and it's warm out there, then trust me, I think it'll feel even better. But we know what the British weather's like, so let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. And my last question for you, Andrew, and you've answered it already a bit, but can you tell me now? You're in Strife Capital. You've started making acquisitions. What's the plans for the future for Strife Capital? What do you want to do with it?
Well, what I've said is that I want to build a business north of 300 million. Now turnover is vanity, and we know profit is sanity, but there is a matrix behind that. But I want to build a business with a lot of a feel-good factor with the people that come and work with me, that they can feel that they can overachieve. I feel that having a really strong management team that can grow and develop, and they can take responsibility and have some value in that, is really important to me. Last time I had about 10 or 15 people at Annodata, and that they really helped grow the business more than me. All I was doing was just driving the car, but they were doing everything behind it. And I think, from a personal point of view, I think that there's a lot of opportunities out there. And so as long as we're all focused and driven on the right plan, and, we don't go off tangent too much, I think we've got half a chance. I think it's going to be tough. I think nothing comes easy, but actually, I think, as I say to a number of people, you appreciate things more if you have to work hard to achieve it and have a few knocks along the way, and have a bit of fun along the way, because, you're at work a long time. And I think, we've just talked about COVID over the last 12 months. You've got to put a smile back on people's face. You've got to make people happy. You've got to make them want to come to work in the morning. It's never always perfect, but, it's up to the man at the top to try and, and that's the one thing I noticed with Mike Bacon. When I go into work in the morning, he's really positive, really upbeat. And I say to him, Mike, that feel-good factor resonates all across the business. And that's the sort of approach that I certainly have.
You've been a great guest. Thanks so much for your time. Andrew, and you've answered it already a bit, but can you tell me now? You're in Strife Capital. You've started making acquisitions. What's the plans for the future for Strife Capital? What do you want to do with it?
Well, what I've said is that I want to build a business north of 300 million. Now turnover is vanity, and we know profit is sanity, but there is a matrix behind that. But I want to build a business with a lot of a feel-good factor with the people that come and work with me, that they can feel that they can overachieve. I feel that having a really strong management team that can grow and develop, and they can take responsibility and have some value in that, is really important to me. Last time I had about 10 or 15 people at Annodata, and that they really helped grow the business more than me. All I was doing was just driving the car, but they were doing everything behind it. And I think, from a personal point of view, I think that there's a lot of opportunities out there. And so as long as we're all focused and driven on the right plan, and, we don't go off tangent too much, I think we've got half a chance. I think it's going to be tough. I think nothing comes easy, but actually, I think, as I say to a number of people, you appreciate things more if you have to work hard to achieve it and have a few knocks along the way, and have a bit of fun along the way, because, you're at work a long time. And I think, we've just talked about COVID over the last 12 months. You've got to put a smile back on people's face. You've got to make people happy. You've got to make them want to come to work in the morning. It's never always perfect, but, it's up to the man at the top to try and, and that's the one thing I noticed with Mike Bacon. When I go into work in the morning, he's really positive, really upbeat. And I say to him, Mike, that feel-good factor resonates all across the business. And that's the sort of approach that I certainly have. You've been a great guest. Thanks so much for your time.